Shalom, family. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to another broadcast of Healthcare Talk Live on the Black and Healthy Restoring Black America channel on YouTube. And it also broadcasts on Facebook on the Country Living in the City page. I am your host, Jawanda Smith, registered nurse, case manager. And today we have a tough topic to talk about. We're going to talk about healthcare delivery and how we as professionals deliver care without biases. We are going to talk to about implicit bias, which there's a theory about implicit bias by many psychologists and other human development researchers about how we all have unconscious biases that we have towards one another, people of our race, of your own race, or people of other races. And it's not just exclusive to race, it could be gender, it could be sexual orientation. It could also just be male, female. There's a lot of things that people have biases on, and we're just going to discuss a few of those things today and see if there's any type of solutions that we can come up with. The first thing I wanted to share with you guys is the definition of implicit bias. Um, the Webster Dictionary actually defines it as, let's see, hold on, still learning how to do all this stuff. Okay, well, it defines it as a bias or prejudice that is present but not consciously held or recognized. There have been studies that reveal that students, nurses, doctors, police officers, employment recruiters, and many others exhibit implicit biases with respect to race, ethnicity, nationality, gender, social status, and other distinctions. There's also research that shows that majority of the people have implicit bias that associates with science and technology, with gender. So far from a very young age, girls are not encouraged to pursue careers in science and technology. So that is one thing that defines what goes on in implicit bias. And there's just a moment. There's many people who say they're not biased. I am one that say I'm not biased about people I meet, but are there things that I've heard over the years that have caused me to have stereotypical ideas of one race or another, or one people or another? I can honestly say yes. We all grow up in environments where it people are talked about. There are things that are talked about it within your family. I know my family, we would talk about those who, those who had racist attitudes towards us, and and obviously we have our stereotypical thoughts of what that other person or nationality is without having any factual knowledge. And that's not to say I'm a blatant racist and I'm going out and calling people out of their names or anything, but has my environment and the things I've encountered in my life experiences will make me have a certain attitude towards a certain type of people? Of course, yes. So I'm just sharing some information today regarding this. As healthcare professionals, we have to be aware that biases do exist. And how do we, as professionals, be aware and not to project that towards our patients and not lack care because we have biases that may be running through our heads because we've encountered someone different than ourselves. I wanted to share with you guys another thing from UCLA. It's regarding the studies on implicit bias, and it shows a whole bunch of information, biases regarding the legal judicial system. They talk about healthcare, but I wanted to show you this hidden injustice, biases on the bench. I just wanted to show a little bit of this video to
Justice
you
is
guys.
not blind. People begin their judgment even before they start to think about an individual case.
85% of Americans say that they have no biases, but that's not true.
This is not about people being bad. This is about the brain is looking for what goes together.
We have a system that, in fact, does not produce a fair outcome.
The more Afrocentric features a defendant has, the longer the sentence will be.
When we find embarrassing data, are we just going to sweep it under the rug? Or are we going to say, you know what, those are embarrassing facts, but we can do better? Implicit bias is a mental association that we are not aware of that nevertheless influences our actions.
The reason why we call it implicit is because we don't know that our brain is doing it. So our brain is going ahead and making all sorts of conclusions without sending us an announcement.
We're very good at making very quick snap judgments. We do it all the time. There are judgments about where we are, what we're doing, and where we're going we can make without thinking about. It's part of what makes us smart, but it creates a vulnerability as well.
I just wanted to stop it right there because I have an opinion on that. Although we may have snap judgments in our mind, it doesn't mean that you have to act on those judgments. Just a rule of thumb, if you think before you speak, you may not say something that is wrong or offensive to someone. So yes, we do make snap judgments very quickly on people just by the appearance. But is it necessary for you to act on what you may think? I just wanted to throw that out to you guys because, yes, even though we may have those biases in there, it's not good for us to act on them. And I believe that a person that chooses to act on them have something going on maliciously in their own constitution as a person, I really believe, because if we as professionals are not supposed to cause harm to anyone, that should be the basis of what, no matter who's laying in that bed before us, we all should remember that that is the oath we took as healthcare professional, is to do no harm. That's all I wanted to share, but I will let this video continue.
Implicit bias is about shortcuts. It's about substituting what you think or what you've become accustomed to seeing or believing, and the shortcuts can be a problem.
It sounds crazy that these mental associations might even exist, but there's overwhelming evidence that they do.
I sentenced a guy on a criminal case who was white from prison. He wrote accusing me of being biased against him. after reviewing my sentencing patterns, I got the epiphany that no, I wasn't biased against white people. I was doing the greater sin. I was biased against my own people.
When I do think about how I'm biased, I think of the fact that, I'm Catholic. And
Now that is absolutely interesting that that black judge said that. That he actually said that I after examination he realized that he was biased against his own people and not white people on the bench. So, what is that to say? That there's been an overwhelming, in his environment, an overwhelming stereotypical idea of black people. And even even so much that he unconsciously was biased in his judgments against his own black people. And that is strange that he would say that. But I do appreciate this judge's um, transparency, because how many people would admit that they've been biased against their own people? But I see it every day um, in healthcare. So let's continue with the video.
I went through 16 years of Catholic education. And so my moral compass is very straight. And when someone would come in front of me, especially if there was some sense that they too were Catholic, I would expect more of them.
My mother died when I was very young, and I was raised by an African American woman who I considered my second mother. And in my civil rights private practice, I mostly represented African Americans. So when I took the Harvard Implicit Association test, I was shocked to find out that I had very high implicit biases against African Americans.
Reaction time measures like the well-known IAT, or the implicit association test, have given us a...
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because I have another information on the IAT. The IAT test, which is the implicit association test. Basically, it's a test that you can take online. There's several institutes that's issuing it, but it's a test where you're given visual stimuli of different things, different words, and you it measures your reaction to it, whether it's a negative reaction or a positive reaction, and it's supposed to measure your biases, or whether you're biased towards that particular image that you've seen at the time. Don't know the validity of the test. Some doctors are saying that it's a stupid test and it's just a waste of money and time. And some doctors are saying that it's really a good test. So I will want to share a little bit information about um, the IAT test. I'm trying to find my information on that. This is actually something that's based out of Ohio that I found here in my home state. And let's see, and it's from the Kieran Institute. I think that's how you say it, Kieran Institute at the Ohio State University. And it's implicit bias module series. It's from the Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity. And they have an introduction video, and they talk about the biases. It talks about, it gives an overview of what the bias is, and then also it shows it shows module after module of how biases are in academic achievement and school discipline, access and evaluation. And then it also gives you a test. And final thoughts about what you just uh, witnessed. So I will be posting this in the link on the video description so people can see what type of test this is. And I encourage people, if they're curious about implicit bias and to see if they have biases. I'm not sure how accurate this test is, but possible. It is possible to at least look at some of the issues that have been seen in biases all over the country and what they have been doing studies and research on. But I will post this in the link after in the description box so you guys can, check it out and, look at it if you want to. It's always good to do research about new things that come out, and especially in healthcare. And I'm curious how biased I am. I know I do have biases. I grew up having certain biases just because of some of the unfair treatments that my parents experienced, and they wanted to make sure that I knew about those things. Not because I was supposed to go out here and do something to somebody about it, but they were letting me know to be aware and how to deal with it in a different way and not get in trouble about it. A lot of people get very emotional and touchy when people are different than them, and they may say things out of the ordinary. You can instruct people without being violent or being unruly. There's a way to express yourself, and everyone doesn't have that ability, but I do believe that if we took the time to think before we react, a lot of things will be better in life. I really believe that. Also, I wanted to continue to show some more of the video I was showing about the implicit bias in the judicial system, because we see that uh, with the wake of everything and all the things that's going on right now, this is very
mountain
imperative.
of social psychological data that's really stunning.
Every judge really should take the implicit association test. It really is an eye opener.
You sit in front of a computer basically, and the computer measures the speed at which you respond to stimuli that's sent on the screen. I know it sounds preposterous, but the best way to measure the strength of mental associations is to actually have you respond to images and stimuli on a computer.
I did what any good lawyer or judge would do. I assumed the test was invalid. So I proceeded to spend hours and hours and hours researching the origin of the implicit association test and all the social scientists who have studied it. And in the matter of about a month of really hard study, I figured out the test was absolutely valid.
I think a reasonable skeptical judge could say, hey, even if a quarter of that stuff is true, if there are...
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there because I have a guest who have just popped up on the screen, my stream, and I'm going to bring them up. Hello, Brother Jamal. How are you?
I'm doing fine, my sister. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam and shalom to you.
Shalom to you, my
Well,
sister.
have you been listening to my babble for the last 20 minutes?
Yeah, I have. I have. And just listening to the information you shared and everything, I don't know. I just, being here in America, just know our history for over 400 years here, and the different things that we hear different people say in these collegiate sociology, psychology, whatever you want to say, symposiums they have. It really, I mean, I won't say it won't do any good, but at the overall situations, you want to question whether these people want to do this because they really want to make money or they really want change.
Yeah, and we spoke about that earlier briefly. They have these tests out there. Actually, the one I just showed was a test that's actually being given by Ohio State University, um, in diversity training, cultural competency training. And, being in the corporate world myself, we get these trainings, but like I said, does it change the overall view? Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if that is possible. If
I yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree with you, Harley, on it. I mean, I've got my, by the grace of Allah, God, got my master's in rehabilitation counseling, and you go to you take these courses, and for our people, I like any opportunity that we can get to teach or have some situations where we can teach. But I think the problem with us, though, too, we get into these universities because I have a brother I won't mention his name, but he's at Ohio State University, and he's over there doing the same thing. But what I find out, they tend to take those type of courses, and they attack our organizations that have been here, helping us as a people for in this land for over 400 years. So they'll come back and go against the NAACP. They'll come back and go against the Nation of Islam or our brothers and sisters in the Hebrew Israelites. So they'll take this diversity training, but it's turning them against our own organizations because they don't value our values as Hebrew Israelites or Muslims or someone who's not into so-called Christianity way or the way I think of Santa Claus or Easter.
right,
So I think it's good talk, but it's a long way to go because I talk to different people on the job who have different faiths who don't buy into the European holidays, and they're treated different on their jobs. They don't people don't talk to them, which is okay with people like myself, but people who try to come out with people who don't believe in them, they tend to not to be. They tend not to leave without. Well, unless you have a strong stance. Some of us, like myself, and you probably don't care. But some of those who try to have different, then they're not talked to, or they talk about why don't you do this? Like we don't stand for we don't pledge allegiance to the flag. Um, we stand up out of respect. We don't pledge allegiance to it. Well, that's a conflict right now. But they say they respect diversity. Well, do you? How do you say you do it? And you got Colin Kaepernick, who you or Kyrie Irving, who's
right.
respecting as well, not take the vaccine. So it's hypocrisy on one end. I really think that diversity inclusion really believes that everybody can have their own diversity outside you being black and Latino and someone of your culture, loving yourself. I really think that it's something they talk but they don't really practice to me.
Yeah, and I do agree with you in some aspects, um, because we don't. Well, it's like they say, when we get in these positions, they expect us to go with the flow. So if there's some pushback, we go through the cultural training, We go through the bias training. I guess you would call it that. They call it cultural competency most of the times in most places, where you're supposed to be aware of other nations, and you're supposed to be aware of their cultural backgrounds and have respect for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a
Mm-hmm.
problem with um, other people's cultures. The problem
Uh-huh.
I have is when someone's projecting or not giving me a service because of my ethnicity. And
Mm-hmm.
with implicit bias, I mean, the research shows it's across the board. It's in food service, it's in healthcare, it's in the military, it's in the judicial system, it's in the police. And, and there are studies that show that when they gave some police officers implicit bias training, so that they weren't as quick to pull their gun.
Right.
That at
Well, I
least,
think that.
but
Well,
but the problem is, how do you fix someone's unconscious biases? I don't even see how you do that. How even through
well, you
training.
only right. Well, I think training is something that you try to teach, and if you look at these, for what I've taught and what I believe too, these
Mhm,
trainings and cultural biases is really to it's something that the we want to say, people who I'll go ahead and say, European Caucasian culture, we have to look at the culture they started here in America. These culture training biases it was really developed by them to try to understand other people's cultures. By
mhm,
nature, we don't have a lot of us by nature don't have these issues. We know how to treat people respectfully because the fact how we are. Now, we may have some differences, but we do a lot of this culture of biases has been learned because we picked it up by our former slave master and his children. We've talked about different. We talk about the Mexicans. They talk about us. Well, the Native Americans or the people from different countries. We learn these. We learn these things from the. They want to call say the quote unquote the dominant society, which I don't even like that term. There's no dominant culture over, but they'll teach you this now to make it safe. Well, let's just say white culture, just say Caucasian cultures, say they're the dominant culture, gives the fact that they're more dominant than somebody else's. But if, that's what we buy into to this type of terminology. So, okay, let's say that. All right. Well, the question is that what they want to learn is, well, we want to know why you guys don't want to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Why you guys don't like to celebrate these holidays? And it's supposed to be something that, but you see it every day on commercials. It's their culture. They have their commercials. We just
mhm.
tell them, and when they run into someone, they assume everybody celebrates Christmas or these holidays, where everybody don't and they actually, well, I don't do that. They're like, well, damn, what's wrong? Well, it's my faith. We don't celebrate these holidays. We don't believe Jesus Christ was born this day. That's our culture. That's our way. Now, it seems like this, like right now, we don't believe in the vaccine. That's our culture. That's our way. The people who have a different culture with the vaccine, how are they treated right now?
They're being treated horribly. I'm sorry.
There you
And
go.
I myself, I don't take the vaccine. It's for
Hmm.
faith reasons. And I was able to get religious exemption from that.
Hmm.
And what you were saying about the holidays, I don't celebrate any of the uh, traditional holidays of America. I don't even, I don't attest to any of those things, but I'm always the one that's looked to cover everybody because everybody wants to go on vacation, so everything gets a lot of things get dumped on me because they know I'm not celebrating. So it's like, oh, she'll be available and which that's fine. I don't have a problem with that because I don't celebrate. I would rather work on that day if it's on a weekday and it's
Yes,
not
ma'am.
on a
Yes,
Saturday.
ma'am.
You know what I'm
Do
saying?
they respect you at your location of your culture or what you do and believe in? Like, do they give you a
Well,
hard time? Because yeah,
I haven't had any problems. One
okay,
thing I'm happy with that at my my job, I have a lot of autonomy in, and I'm able to tell them what I can and can't do, and if I can't do it,
okay,
and if I can't do it,
okay,
um, you know, I'm glad that they give me that option. Maybe one day they'll say, "Oh, well, if you can't do that, then you need to go." I was not afraid to lose my job.
right,
See,
right,
I'm not,
right.
my faith is stronger than my
Yes,
income. Okay. I
yes,
don't
ma'am.
worry
Yes, ma'am.
about, I never worry about the temporal. Money comes and goes. Everything you
Yes,
see is not eternal, but I worry about where my soul is going. So,
yes,
no,
ma'am.
if I believe that I'm not going to take the vaccine, I wouldn't care if
Hmm.
they threatened that. I'm not going to do it.
Right,
I'm going to stand out and just be like,
right.
okay,
It's just different. Yeah, it's just different. I mean, those of us who work certain places where we
where
have
you
these
can.
options, where we believe that the creator was behind, but there has been some where the people's values and cultures who do not like the vaccine, the government and others have come in and tried to, which is I told everybody this is dangerous. Where if they come in and try to tell you that, then they will tell you what's Miss Smith here. I don't think they will, but you never know. I mean, they have over 400 years of history here saying things that they do. So they will say, look, well, we don't want you being a Hebrew Israelite here, or me, Mr. Muhammad, we don't want you being a
Right,
Muslim here no more.
exactly.
So if you don't, so they say it's a freedom of speech and freedom of religion, but everybody knows that we as a people, they have stuff on paper, but we got our stuff through bloodshed and death. Now, I just think we should just be honest, though. They
Mm,
told us, the education you could. Well, everybody know, like for us, our history in the Nation of Islam, we had to go to jail to have our own schools in this country. We had to be beaten by the police to have our own school system in this country. Same thing with the Hebrew Israelites, just like in some parts I'm hearing right now. In Israel, they're not treated being treated. So how in
No,
the heck
they're not being
you
treated.
say these things? You hear these things. Women to this day are still being mistreated. So you hear these things, and then you ask yourself, hey, what really is the diversity culture training really about? I think it's really more about, it means very well, but I think it's really about people having jobs for themselves and to get a little incentive to do these things. And you took it, you can check it off. I took course of system trading, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to have problems. I mean, at my job, I hear about problems every day. People feel
Right.
that their culture or some type of racism is being disrespected. Now, what I do see a group of people who have taken this to their advantage and worked it though. I feel the LGBT community have taken this and made it more to their advantage though. I'll say that to
Mhm.
anybody. We have had some incidents where I work at where people who have not really did the right paperwork, Sister Joanna,
Mm,
have come in with attitudes to be addressed a certain way, even though they have not legally changed their name, like some of myself did, or
mhm,
legally change their sexual orientation,
mhm.
yet, but come in and want to be called something, even though they haven't made any change, and we have been put under pressure to make that change for them at that time. But for
Right.
me, if those of us who are black who want to change our name have not done it, the culture doesn't give them that face. So it's like you see the differences. I don't. That's what I'm saying. Truth is
Right.
the best answer. And that's the solution to what I see, and that's what we're talking about. The Muslim truth is the best
Mhm.
culture is truth.
Yeah, the
That's the
best
best
culture,
culture.
and I believe that, and that's
Hmm.
why I bring these topics up because, okay, yeah, a lot of us have been, like I said, you've been in the military, you work in public service, you're a counselor, so of course you're going to encounter many people of many diversities, and
Hmm.
you have to treat them all with respect. You know,
Right.
I, you know, it's just the fact that when, as a nurse, it is dangerous if I
Mhm.
use my biases to not
Mhm.
deliver care properly. You know, um, I grew up around in my neighborhood. We had a lot of Latin population, and a lot
Mhm.
of times there was jokes about the Latin people. you know,
Mhm.
but as a nurse, if I have a lady or a man of Latin descent in my
Mhm.
in assigned to me, am I
Mhm.
going to use those blind biases, even though I may think these things? Am I going to
Mhm.
actually do harm to this person or say something to this person to be offensive? I mean, my parents always taught me to think before I speak or think
Mhm.
before I react,
Mhm.
and the fact is that, I encounter people of different nationalities every day, every week. And I even have people convey their stereotypes towards me. It's so funny when
Mhm.
I case manage many races of people, and I love when I have a one of my patients telling me that I'm black on the phone. They love to tell me. They'll say, "Oh, I love black people, and black people are this, and black people," and I'm like, they don't even have to do that. Just speak to
Well,
me.
that's what I'm saying. That's
Right.
what I'm saying too. Since we don't have a history, I don't know of any history. You may know more. I don't know any history of documentation. Has anybody, let's say just being facetious, have said that white, Latino, Asian, let's say just being facetious, that they have not gotten the right care about us because they were black or white. I mean, white or Latino or Asian. I never heard that before. I don't think these cases. I'm not saying it has not, but I don't see a lot of cases on the news or newspaper. You
Right.
always hear that it's someone of a Caucasian descent or someone else who's giving people, majority black or Latino or sometimes women, not the best service. Mostly it's us.
Well,
We don't
and
get the
see,
best service
and
in
that's the
healthcare.
thing.
Right.
I
I don't
do.
I mean in nursing. Have you heard any cases where
Well,
black doctors not giving good service to? I haven't. Have you? Have you seen it or heard
no,
it in
I
your job?
haven't,
Okay.
and I haven't encountered anyone personally in my experience. Um,
Okay.
but what I have encountered, and
Okay.
this is going to be really sad when I say this. Well, I did
Mhm.
show the video of the judge saying that once he took the implicit bias to the black judge, he said he realized that he was biased against his own people. Not that
Oh
he was,
yeah. Now that's true.
yeah, right. Now, guess what? That's
But
the
we, but we're
same thing
trained.
you
But
see
we're
in
trained to.
healthcare.
Yeah. But
You
we're
see
trained
it
to
in
think that
healthcare.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
because
trying to think that way. If you don't have a knowledge of self and
right.
something that love of self and God, you have that. I mean, I've seen that in religion and
Mhm,
health, education, where your own will
mhm.
treat you bad and give you bad because you're just to them just another number. That's the reason why, yeah, you see that a lot going on. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. But I haven't seen where, and
Where,
we'll do that to each other and give somebody else the best care. So that is sad. But I
well,
do
then
see that. I've seen
other than
judges do that.
Michael Jackson, I did think of something because that was a black doctor that they claimed killed him.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
right. Okay, you're right.
yeah.
Right.
I did think when you
But you
said
see, but you said on Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson's one of us, but I haven't seen any black doctors or judges or anyone give you Caucasian people any type of bad things, or you don't see any black doctors, like you saying, shooting patients up who are Caucasian or doing them wrong because they were white. I haven't seen any cases like that. Now, if it
well,
is, I want someone
I
to
mean, I'm
bring it
pretty
to me.
sure there may be a case out there, but I haven't seen it.
Okay.
You know,
Worldwide.
me
Right.
worldwide or media wise. And I'm pretty
Okay.
sure if someone watches this broadcast, they'll probably bring it up to me, which is fine.
We ought to
I
go. No, yeah,
I
I want
don't
to
claim
see.
to
I
know
want to see.
everything, but I would like to
I just
know,
haven't heard.
but the majority is, those who have experienced, I mean, if I was to play that video some more, it would also show where Asians said they've been treated differently. So there, it seems to be whomever is in power, and they can throw the biases down to everyone else. But does the other races or the other nationalities of people, do we throw it back? See, that's the thing. I I'm afraid to be harmful to anyone because as a nurse, why? Because my licensure is in jeopardy if I do that. I'm not supposed to abuse anyone, neglect anyone. These are the things I took as an oath as a nurse. Um,
Mhm.
Although when I've had to have health care done for myself, have I felt prejudice and biases? I won't say as an adult I have, but as a child I did. Because, of course, it teenage pregnancy is not always looked at in a
Right.
positive manner. So here
Right.
I am, 18, pregnant, going to the doctor, and I mean, in the waiting room, I'm the
Right.
only black
You
person
will.
there, and I'm looked at,
Yeah.
and they see I'm visibly pregnant.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
there with my father. I'm not
Right.
there with my husband or anything. So I would get you're not married. Or, of course, I'm not married. I'm 18. Okay. There,
Hmm.
there was so many comments that was made, even when I went to the dentist because I was pregnant, these
Hmm.
questions. Um, and I don't know if they knew they were being offensive or they were being facetious or whatever, but did I react? No. Would I have reacted now, as grown as I am now? Yes. I probably would have expressed my dislike of them because that's not what they needed. What I'm there for is for you to check my vitals, make sure I'm okay, make sure the baby okay. You don't have to worry about my personal or why I'm hurt. As long as my insurance is paying the fee for me to come here, I shouldn't have to hear the extra. You know. Yes,
Hmm.
I know I'm a
Well,
single
that
mom.
happens. That happened with that happens a lot. That happened with a couple of brothers I've heard, and people we've gone even with their own, like to
Mhm.
go to some type of service. Went to get some service from an attorney and a receptionist, and she
Mhm.
wanted to talk about the young man's faith. And he's like, "Well, I didn't come here for that today. I come here just to see the attorney, but want to interview him about his faith, which is, I think is unnecessary, And he went
Right.
back and told the attorney what happened. Again, the attorney took her side, but I mean, I'm not here to talk to you about that. I'm here to talk to the attorney. You know what I'm saying? Shut it. That's what you good. Let you shut it down because, I just think that people, respect people's different things where they are, and if you got a
Right.
bias about something, there's, these are what these symposium was for. Though supposedly they're supposed to be for that. Supposedly, I don't. Again, I don't think these things really. I think they do them because they're told to do them by their HR department, and they have to, end of the year, you have to have so much trainings, and diversity training is a requirement now. So it's doing more of a requirement. Again, and if things come up where a company, and it's to protect the company too, because a lot of people went in and did these research and found that these companies were having these racial problems, and they found out that they wouldn't have no diversity, so they made diversity training or someone to keep it, so they wouldn't be a lawsuit, and that's why they doing it. It's really to protect them from a lawsuit if they had any type of major thing of racism towards African Americans, anybody of color. They say, but they came in so they could be protected. Because first they would come in and find out, did you have a no? Well, this don't look good for a company. Say like Wells Fargo, who's been have all these years of having doing redlining. They
Uh-huh.
wouldn't do no diversity training, so they
Right.
come in and found it Wells Fargo, who's my mortgage company,
Right. And oh, actually, I ended up I was put in a class action lawsuit and didn't even know uh, that I just because I was black, as I know there's other financial institutions that have been forced to pay money out because they have been biased towards minorities. And actually, I was purchasing when I was still paying on my car. Um,
Right.
Ally got in trouble about, um, I guess they were giving higher interest rates to Latin
They
Americans and
they still
Black
do that,
Americans.
man.
Yeah, and I ended up I didn't even know I was in the lawsuit, but I got a check sent to me
Well,
because
that's
they said,
yeah. They
well, you bought it
yeah.
because you bought your car in between, like basically because I had purchased my car
But see,
during that
what with that
time
too
frame.
though, with that too, sisters want to see what they find out is usually it's some white attorneys that they go and they do the research on how they can make money off a company, and then they get big checks. They send everybody else to lose, which is money is money. I'm glad, but the question is that like Wells Fargo has been over well knowing that they have done racial biases and mortgage lending to African Americans. They
Mm,
would now what they do now is they just give African Americans the loan. You know what I'm saying? They don't they try to go back, but I'm saying that these companies and it's happened. They'll come back in 5 or 6 years and they have the same problem again. And so when I was asking this, I said, well, I found out you have issues of and you ask them, they all will stutter, they all will make excuses for it, they will all make up. I mean, Chase Bank has some issues with it. All these corporations in America have issues with giving African Americans the just due. And so now what they do now is they put us in positions, but they still the problem still exists though. If they ain't gonna change the system itself, which sometimes it will, but it goes right back to the system itself. I mean, they say we just gotta have good credit. Well, no, they found out African Americans with good credit still get higher interest rates than
I
those
have
whites who have
I
bad
have good
credit.
credit.
Yeah,
I have good credit, and I have to literally fight them about my interest rates. It's like no, I'm not taking that. I'm not no. My credit score is this. Why would I have to have a interest rate
that's a
that high?
facade. It's a
Huh.
facade. That's what I'm saying. That they find out, just like felonies, right? They found
Mhm.
out Caucasian men with felonies still get jobs and hired before African American men get felonies. So we just got to be honest. If we're going to speak truth about the situation in American society, we got to understand that we have a problem here for us being here. And I think if we can't identify that, and again, we with these diversity trainings and everything, it's okay if you can speak truth. The problem is you're not. People don't do that. They well don't want to. People in these. If you've been in these trainings before, people are kind of uncomfortable. If you notice, they're uncomfortable. Some people who of Caucasian feel that it's a beat up on them session, so they feel uncomfortable. They don't know what to say, and if they say something, they think they're racist. The label is racist. So you really don't get to the and final is that truth is not at the table. I really believe that. If you can't be truth about what happened here in America and how the bias started, then we really are just doing some dancing
Yeah,
with wolves. Is what I call it. We're dancing with wolves.
and I do. And one thing I'm about is trying to find solutions for the blacks and the minorities. And even though I'm talking, like I said, I always reiterate this every live I have. I'm black and I'm talking to my black people, but it's not that other nations can't use this information. But I'm about us speaking up. For many years, even the generations before me, I seen the fear in our people not speaking up for the injustices and stuff. And implicit bias is one of them. And that's one reason why I do advocate for many patients of uh, minority nationalities here in this country because if you don't have someone to speak up for you and you may not even have the understanding what people are trying to, especially in healthcare. I've seen doctors run in there, yip 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 yip. They run in there, they talk really fast, and then they run out. It's like, hello, I needed to ask you a bunch of questions, but you don't have the time to talk to me. But you want 50, 60,000 dollars for this surgery. I don't even know if I need to take. So these are the things that our people need to discuss. We need to talk about how do we deal with if a person feels like they're being biased? How do we deal with that? What will be the next step to solve the problem?
Well, I mean,
I
that's what
don't
I
think.
I, I had that with my mother. She just she went to visit her doctor of Caucasian descent, and each time she goes and see the doctor wants to just lecture about the vaccine. After my mother's told her plenty of times, I'm not taking it, she still wants to tell her to take the vaccine and use fear tactics. Well, the question is that one, I tell my mother that number one, she doesn't respect your culture of telling her you're not taking it. Number two, she has her own mind because there's some, it's gonna all come. There must be some kickbacks or something that these doctors are getting to try to promote
Mhm.
this thing. So this
Right.
is what we're saying right now is that we see the biases. This is a culture of bias right now. I don't know why people don't want to see this. They try to say they're
Mhm.
trying to protect all people. Well, every culture has their own way of looking at medicine and health and wellness. So you're not
Mhm.
trying to protect people. So you never done that here in America. Now stop it, doctors and nurses and people of descent in that medical profession. You never have ever cared about medical and wellness for everybody in this country. I just think we got to stop and bring truth. And then you're a nurse, and I'll be quiet. Has it been a history where they have cared about everybody in this country, Sister Juwan? If it is, I'll say I'm asking because I don't want to make a generalization. It don't
Now,
seem
what
it
was
has
you
been.
asking again? What was the question?
But oh, I'm saying since you're in the medical field, has it been a history that I may not be aware of where the medical profession cared about everybody's health in this country? If it is, then okay, I'll be quiet. If it is, want to make
Well,
sure.
I won't say. Let's put it this way.
Okay,
Let's look at the system as a whole.
okay,
The system as a whole, no, I will
okay.
absolutely
What
say,
about the justice system? We just
but
seen
it's
this
the
week.
same thing.
Right, we just
No,
seen this week. We just seen this week a young Caucasian guy who gets off all charges. He kills his own though, but he gets off of all charges. And what are they trying to say? Well, he killed a pedophile, he killed a wife beater, and he killed somebody else. Now, I'm trying to look in here and say, so what gives this young man right to kill someone that situation had nothing to do with it? But they're saying because they were rioting and everything. Now, the question is that we've seen a lot of riots in this country. Now, if that would have been a young black boy shooting them down like that, they wouldn't be saying that now. We know that. Now stop it. So that's
right?
that's the situation we're trying to
I mean,
say. If it would, I mean,
yeah,
if it would have been like it would have been a black guy even on the other side saying he didn't like rioters and everything, but he went and his mother brought him into a riot situation, both black and white. He shot three white boys down as a black young 17-year-old. You would not have the same trial outfit
no,
as this young man here. And they said we
exactly.
don't see it about race. Well, but we as African Americans, everybody has spoke one voice here. We were not surprised about the verdict.
No,
I heard a young brother attorney on Wolf Blitzer this week. He said, well, we as African Americans are not surprised about
no.
what went down. You talked to Lisa about 15 African Americans or maybe Latinos, people of color. They say we were not surprised what happened on Thursday. Was it Thursday
Right.
or Friday?
No, I
Friday.
wasn't surprised either.
No, and
And
so they trying to say, well, justification is that these guys were rapists, and so I'm saying, Sister Joanda, if we were like that for what happened to us in this country, we don't want to show. You see what I'm saying? You see the biases? That's all I'm trying
yes,
to
I
say.
do see the bias, and I'm not. I don't know how training would help any of that. But I've always been safer taking people as individuals.
Okay.
I know the system is screwed up.
Hmm.
I get on here week after week talking about how crazy this system here in America is. And there's biases that exist all over the world as
Right.
well,
Right.
um, against people of color.
It is.
The
I mean,
only
we have
thing
our own
I can
biases. I
do,
mean, we have. Yeah, you're right. We have. I
the
mean,
only thing
I have
I
just.
can do is be responsible for my reactions
Right.
and how if I'm advocating for someone that needs my help because they're being um, faced with injustices, whether it's in healthcare, because that's my avenue. If someone of color came to you and said, Brother Jamal, this is what's happening to me
Hmm.
at my job. Can you help me out, brother?
Right.
That's the things that we have to start helping each other
Hmm.
because we know the system is against us. And
Well,
that's the
that's what we've done. Before this whole vaccination thing came a lot with this COVID, we dealt with this, say 10, 15 years ago or years ago within the African American or just community in general. We were taught by the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. We do research. Well, we found out that here in the state of Ohio, this is years ago, that for your children, that they don't have to take the vaccine or any type. They have religious exemption. Now, this wasn't taught by the quote unquote larger society. This hasn't been
Mhm,
taught. So what they would do, they had this. This is my own personal. I had this. They pulled my young daughters, twin daughters. This is when they were in second grade. Now they didn't call the mother myself, which was wrong. They pulled them out of class and told them that they had a vaccination shot, they were not going to be able to come to school on Monday. Now, as a father, I'm very upset because number one, I'm the parent. You call me and tell me because they knew we knew the law. So, but the principal didn't know the law, and other parents in Ohio didn't know the law. Now
mm,
we pulled the law out, told them the law, and told
mhm,
them that you don't do this. So and we educate parents, they don't like you doing that, but that's dealing with a bias. They don't want people to know their rights. That's a bias effect. You just say, okay, if you have religious or anything that then this is your right. The health, the city health organizations in different city, whether it's in Cincinnati, the health departments, they all have a bias. They want everybody vaccination for money and numbers. This is a fact. So, but this in law in the state of Ohio, where any children in any school, you don't have to get the vaccine. Your children are protected. They have religious exemption. Now
mhm.
we have religious exemptions, and there's people out here who don't like it. Sister Wonder, why? Because we have a different culture.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I just hope that one day we can come to a day where everybody just respects each other. It's not about, I don't have to understand your culture. I mean, I
Hmm.
can be aware of it, understand it. I don't have, I know something just like, okay, I believe I'm a Hebrew Israelite. You
Hmm.
believe you follow the Nation of Islam. We have
Right.
conversations all the time. I don't disrespect your faith. You don't disrespect mine. We can have conversations, but even though we may not believe everything about the
Right.
Bible the same,
Right.
yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
but but I can't force my beliefs on anyone if just like I feel like even when it comes to biases, okay, you may have people who have these biases, and I can't force them to think anything different than what they already think. You know,
Right.
I can't I can't make a white person think differently of me as a black person
Hmm.
unless they start involving themselves with me where they want to get to know me. But other than that, if they don't want to get to know me personally, then there is a boundary they should not cross.
Right.
And that's the thing. You don't want to get to know me. I'm black, you're white, you're Asian, or whatever. Okay, that's fine. I recognize that you're Asian. I respect your culture.
Hmm.
I'm
Well,
not gonna
I'm doing a little joke on here. You might got me a little biased now. I'm a little bit
right.
biased. Anybody who comes to me thinking different outside what we're taught of European theology, I like you. So I might be a little biased in on that. So Hebrew Israelites, anybody else, we can have some good conversations. We have more in common. We know about being treated different because we don't accept the ideology that was given to us by our former slave master in religion. I'm sorry, and we don't. And
I
so
just know.
I tend to be biased. I tend to have more in common, and we can talk about ideas. We talk about us not celebrating. I like that for me. Now, I might be more biased in saying that, but I just think that is those of us who look at history and feel that we have been treated wrong by our former slave master and his children in this country in religion, and still are. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
another bias we still have is that I don't know how someone said they can believe in Christ and doesn't want to recognize the natural hue the man came in to this day. I don't see how they can say that. Whether you
I
black, white,
understand.
or pink, yellow, they say, well, if Jesus Christ is who he is, and he is, I don't see how you cannot recognize him. If you love this man, how you not recognize on how God
What
made him
he
come on the
actually
earth.
looks like.
Yeah, because you
Yeah,
can go to
yeah.
churches in Beaver Creek or I guess in Westchester and some of the suburbs. He's not represented the same hue that's read in the book in the Bible. I'm
Right,
sorry.
exactly.
That's a
And I
bias.
do.
That's a bias. That's a bias.
Yeah. Well, you done pointed out a bunch of the biases today. But yeah, I mean, yes, family, we know these biases exist. And the thing is, I as an individual know I'm not going to do any harm to anyone.
Right.
Even if I have the bias.
Right.
Um, it's just that it's not in my nature to cause harm to people.
I think
And
people who are more
I feel,
God-like in nature less of that
huh?
problem. More of us who are more God-like in nature, we have less of that problem. We'll say it like that. Well, those of us who strive to be more God-like and in our nature, we have a
Mhm.
lesser problem with that because God is not a biased God. Unless you want to say that he's biased because he wants us not to do evil, and that's not bias. I mean, that's just the nature of who he is. I mean, so, but more of us who are in our godly like nature, how God made us, we don't have those biases. We see everyone as people as God made us to be. But when we are on this earthly plane of Satan and what we've learned of different people, we get on that because you're taught, hey, you're black, you're white, you're Mexican, you're Jamaican. That's on the earthly plane, and we do that because that's what our society runs on. Look, yeah, we're American, we're the best. Says who? I never said that.
Right.
He never said Americans are the best. But bias is that no, he never said our country was the best. And our country is a great country living in, but in God's eyes, he never said America was the best country on the earth. He's never said nothing like that. But we'll say that though. And we have to be very careful of that. We have a bias thinking we're better than other people who live on this planet. Even though we say God is he loves everybody. Listen to how we talk. Even if those of us who live, we really sometimes think that we live here in America are better than other people in other countries. I hear it all the time.
Yeah, I've been overseas and I've gotten a wind of how they view Americans. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what color we are.
Mm-mm.
American, period.
Mm-hmm.
I've been overseas and they just, a lot of countries laugh at us about, because they have their opinions about Americans, which are biases.
Yeah, they
So,
are.
like I said, everyone I see, even when doing this research, I see that we all have biases. We
Yeah, we
all
do.
have grown up with things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how you react. That's what I'm saying. I don't, like I said, I may not like, let's just, I may not like Africans. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say I have something personally or some bias in my head about Africans.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I have an African patient? Am
Mm-hmm.
I going to neglect that patient because I have a bias against that patient? No, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Why? First of all, I can get in trouble, lose my license, won't have a
Mm-hmm.
job, won't have a livelihood. I can, number two, harm that patient because I may have withheld something that I shouldn't have,
Mm-hmm.
or I shouldn't. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with you having your biases.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to like me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm asking you to do as a human being, you're going to respect me.
But
And
since I'm
if
saying biases is we all have the biases opinion, but I think what happened in this culture is that that's where the racism was bias that was put into practice.
right,
And so the question is that for us, and we saw there was biases that were put in the mindset of Caucasian people because of Ham and the religious thing that we were less than them because of Ham. So bias was put into practice with, say, we couldn't go to a same water fountain, we couldn't go to the same restaurant, we couldn't go to. So that was put into power, which was racism. Now I don't know of any society we had to separate out of protection and have our own because we couldn't depend on them to take care of us, which they shouldn't. So we had to have our own time.
well, I do believe in. Well, the Bible calls
We
us to be
we
separate. So, I really believe it's impossible to be holy in this society unless you do separate. You have to separate not only your mind, your body, and your spirit. You know, that's why I garden. I don't want to go to the grocery stores because I don't know what those people have done to the food. I know what I do to my own food. I know God created food. So I'm only going to eat the things that He said is food. I don't listen to man on that either, not anymore, because I've had so many health problems in the past. And I was trying to figure out why am I so sick and what is going on. And I found out I was allergic to a lot of preservatives. I was,
mhm.
and these are things that they spray on this food and they put it in your grocery stores. And it's like, okay, mass production of food. Those mass producers, those billionaires that are killing, not only I mean, to me, the food industry goes beyond just the race thing. They're just trying to kill everybody. I mean,
Yeah,
seriously,
yeah.
because it's about money. I got the money and you don't. So even when it comes to that, there's biases here. I drive all over the city as a case
Mhm,
manager. I'm in
mhm,
the bad neighborhoods and I'm in the rich neighborhoods.
mhm.
I can honestly tell you what Kroger has in the rich neighborhoods ain't the same what you see in the poor neighborhoods in Kroger's. The
Well, in
food
capitalism,
selections are different, huh?
mhm. Well,
And
in
they have
capitalist
more organic.
society, yeah, in capital society, that capital society makes biases and makes people
Mhm,
different. I mean, we are a capital society, so people for us to not understand. I mean, this is they talk about Karl Marx, and then Karl
mhm.
Marx did say that for capitalism to run and continue to run, you have to have the haves and the have-nots. You have to have the reserve army, high unemployment. You have to have miseducation. So the capital society, everybody can't be educated the same. Everybody can't be employed.
Right. Right. And that's, it's sad, but that's the thing. I mean, that's
It's
America.
sad. And healthcare is no different
No,
than
it's not.
yeah, healthcare. If you got the money, you get better services now. Now, even though we know for a fact that there's been black people with some money who still get treated kind of wrong still in the society. You've seen
Right.
that too. But the fact
Yeah.
is that you do have little bit better than those who don't have the money. And I think that I don't know if you watch football, sister.
Sometimes.
Well,
Yeah,
this is
sometimes.
all being played out in the this is all being played out in the college football arena right now as we speak.
Mm,
Um, the teams that get into the playoffs now are the schools who bring the money. That's just
right,
all right,
right.
people. Yeah, and so they're becoming more obvious now than they ever been. Because University of Cincinnati may not be the school to get in because based on Ohio State, Alabama, the major
Right,
schools, they have a more traveling crowd to bring money.
right, right,
You see,
right.
so we having
Exactly.
our argument. Those are all the football fans. You're seeing it right now with the BCS, and it's going to cause a lot of problems here. But see, I believe God is doing this on a higher level for us to see this stuff.
Oh yeah, and I do like the fact that things are coming more to the forefront
Yeah. Hmm.
where we can have more discussions, even the
Yeah.
problems within our own communities.
Yes. Yes.
Between our males and females, we we have some serious issues
Well,
when
we
it
as
comes
male
to
too. I
that.
mean, yeah, we have it too within our culture because, like, the
Right.
history of the AKAs and you know the history of that, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
I mean, and that's still to this day. I mean, if you look at some of our movies we make, as African Americans, blacks, we tend to have that bias of light skin and dark skin. I see it in all the movies.
mm,
In a certain, just like I love the movie, just came out, The Harder They Fall. But
oh yeah,
you seen they had the sisters, one light skin, one dark skin, going against each
oh
other
yeah,
in the movie. Yeah, I mean
oh
it's
yeah.
always it plays out. It always plays out.
And it makes no sense to me because I mean, in my family, we were like a rainbow hue.
Hmm.
All of us black, but we were different shades. My mother was dark
Hmm.
skinned. My
Hmm.
dad was light skinned. There were some caramel browns and some, we just, I just love the brown skin.
Yeah.
We have all different shades. And
Hmm.
I used to get it when I was younger. I get the light bright. Uh, I used to be called light bright or some other. And like I said, there's biases within our own race.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
I
mean, you see Colin Kaepernick's story. He dealt with that in the Colin
Oh
story.
yeah,
Everybody
constant.
watched Netflix. Yeah, he remember the young
And
man told him. He said, "Man, you want dark with her? She's blue black." Like
right,
so I'm
right.
like and I've heard it a lot in growing up, man. And there's some of our brothers and sisters, family members who feel that they were treated different. Some were treated different because they were dark skinned hued by moms and grandmothers, and then you go
Yeah,
to the larger society, that we call the larger, the same thing. So you see that's the reason why I think that the groups that we're part of, we may see some things. That's not what we hear about. We're about to breaking those barriers down, and we did
yeah.
that.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to break them down because it's like I said, we know they exist. The biases exist. We
Mhm.
know there's training out there. We
Mhm.
don't know how much that's going to do.
Mhm.
Because still, like I said, like I think you brought it up earlier how like things are changed for a short amount of time, and then
Mhm.
it goes right back to what we're normally seeing. So like I said, I was surprised. I was not surprised about the verdict. The
Mhm.
last verdict. I wasn't. Sometimes it gets disheartening where you say, "Yeah, I knew that was gonna happen," because because
Well, that's what I'm
it's
saying. I mean, who knows the American system better than us, though? I mean, Sister One. I mean, I don't. I mean, I just, and maybe I'm being biased on that. Who knows? Like Brother Malcolm said, one of our great historians and leaders of our nation, he said to us, I mean, we as a whole have not seen any American dream, but we can tell you firsthand of the American nightmare, and that's true.
yeah,
That's
and
not a
that's
bias.
exactly true. Oh man, Malcolm, man, my
Yeah.
brother, because he, yeah,
Right.
I
So
I
people
read,
get mad about that,
Mm.
I've had this. I had someone approach me at work, and I'm coming to work one day, just then nothing, and God brung up. So don't you feel about somebody says something? I'm like, well, I ain't know nothing about it, and it's like, okay. He said, so you telling me this guy? He said, you telling me that Malcolm and none of those guys ever killed any white people? This is my job. I know the history. I know they haven't. But he came at me like this one day. I'm like, what? I said, well, no. I know we haven't. That was a self defense. So he couldn't figure anything. He's okay. Oh, okay, all right. Because I said, well, no, we don't have that history. You know what I'm saying? And he know I wasn't lying, so he just let it go. But see, that's what I'm trying to say. They want to pinpoint something sometimes. I'm like, well, no, we don't have this. I mean, but you have an issue if our brother and I hit. We know what a night. We haven't had a nightmare in this country. I don't know why no one wants to. We just seen one of our brothers
But
be killed last
I mean,
year.
I
I
just
mean, so
think
I don't understand. But they feel there's a bias being the fact that how we look at police department. I don't know if it could be a bias in some sense, but I feel that we are kind of maybe not justified, but when we see police, we're a little hesitant whether we should go for them for help. And again, I can see the bias for our judgment, but we got to think not all police are like that. But most of our encounter with the police in this country hasn't been the best. We just got to be not to make all police bad, and but I can see how
no, and
some
I don't
biases
think
happen.
we ever said that.
No,
It's
we
like
haven't.
it's not all or nothing. I think, like I said, I've encountered good doctors and
Hmm.
good bad doctors. I've encountered
Hmm.
good nurses and bad nurses. I
Right.
think there's good and bad in everybody,
Hmm.
in every nation.
Yeah, it is.
The problem is, like I said, when you do encounter these
Hmm.
biases, and they're coming at you forefront, and like it's something that needs to be handled as an individual situation. I believe the best thing is to have someone uh, to help advocate for you.
Oh yes, ma'am.
Because like I said, especially in healthcare, because
Right.
you could be ill. You could be ill. Let's say, just bringing up my husband again. Many a day, he was in the hospital asking for pain medicine. Of course, there's a prejudice and a myth
Hmm.
that came about in slavery that black people have thicker skin than other
Mm.
people.
Hmm.
Now, that's not, I mean, when you look at the physiological anatomy and physiology of the human body,
Hmm.
that is not true. Okay. We have
Hmm.
the same layers of skin that they have.
Mm.
It's just
Mm.
the fact that, yeah, we have melanin, more
Mhm.
melanocytes, but
Mhm.
that's a slight difference compared to you saying we got thicker skin. So which
Mhm.
means we can take bigger punishment. That's
Mhm.
what that's why they gave reasons of how they could be so cruel to us,
Mm. Mm.
because we have there's another myth about less nerve endings. We have less nerve endings, so we don't feel pain as much. I
Mm.
mean,
Wow.
these are the things that have come about from slavery on, and then you
Well,
have
right, because I know about
other.
the culture of slavery of in my field of counseling. I forget the demon's name. I call him a demon, but he came up with the ideology that Drapomania. I don't know if you heard about that.
I'm not.
Dr. Joyce Gujuju talked about that, but
Uh,
he was now this dude was no dude down in Kentucky or some of these how they want to paint the Klan. This guy was a Harvard scholar and he's looked up as the father of psychology. But he came with the ideology that blacks that when we were trying to escape from slavery of the brutal of slavery in the South and the part of this country that we suffered from drapomania that it was for us to overcome drapomania wasn't getting counseling, it was to beat us in submission. That was his that was his conclusion. And many scholars in psychology know about this guy and know what he talked about. And he's, again, he's a modern day Christopher Columbus, a modern day Bull Connor, a modern day Adolf Hitler. But he talked about the fact is that, you would beat blacks. That would get him up. We suffer from Draper-Mason. Those blacks we were trying to escape from the brutality of slavery, they labeled us as Draper-mania. And for the solution was to beat us into submission. This is a fact.
Yeah, I will look that
Yeah.
up, brother, because I've heard of it vaguely
Mhm.
in some information that I was given regarding healthcare disparities. Because I just didn't, I get so much stuff, I didn't always
Mhm.
I got chance to look through it, but that's interesting. That is so
Yeah.
sad.
So in every society, every field, I mean, I'm in my field, you see it. I mean, about that. Everybody knows about the big biases in addiction, which I'm part of, is crack cocaine versus the opioid now. I mean, you guys
Uh-huh.
have seen it, right? Even in your field. Now, when I
Right.
was coming in, they would actually tell you that crack cocaine was more dangerous than powder cocaine and justify why we should get more jail time and more criminal offenses because
For
crack
self.
was, yeah,
Oh
they
yeah.
said this. Yeah, yeah. I
And,
remember they said, yeah, it was
and
cocaine, but we said it's cocaine. But they were trying to justify
so
that yeah.
let me ask you this. So what
Mhm.
is because you are in the Nation of Islam, so what is the nation saying about, these biases and what's the solution for the nation if they encounter these biases, especially in healthcare, the judicial system? Do the nation have something set up where the brothers and sisters can contact one of you guys to get some support in
Oh yeah, I
any
mean, I think the
way?
nation is always, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and has always addressed what we do with biases. What we've done with is we believe that we have to separate and have our own. I mean, I think that's the solution we've always given, and I think that's not going to change. And then if we want within bias within ourselves, we
Your sound went out for a second. I don't hear you. Brother,
okay.
I can't hear you at all.
How
There.
about now? There we go. Is that better?
Okay, there we go.
Okay, there we
Okay.
go. When people call me, that's what happens. I apologize. I think so. The one of the things that our solution always has been, we have to separate and get our and have our own. And that's what we always do. We try to we model that on a level where we have our own newspaper, we have our own schools, we
Right.
fight with those who fight with us. We have our own way of looking at things. So I mean, you have to separate and then if you have the bias, and we're gonna, you have bias within your organization, you know how to deal with that in a morally godly manner too. But from the society we see of bias, and now again, if anybody needs a call, a local mosque or someone we try to educate our people on first the love of self and loving self first, and how to deal with our enemy and those who wants to bring us harm, whether it's black on black or white on white, whoever who wants to bring harm to us and we tell
Right.
them how to deal with that.
Understandable. And
Mhm.
I do appreciate you coming on today because you know I figured you would have a lot to say. But
Oh
you
yes,
know,
ma'am.
I do appreciate your opinions, and I appreciate the nation for always
We
making their
appreciate you
presence
too.
known.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just making your
And a lot of
presence
people don't
known.
like us. We're gonna come on attack here pretty soon. We want to let our people know they're coming our way. I mean, because they're getting upset about what's going on with Trump, and they've always used the minister and the nation as the litmus test. Because the thing happened up in D.C. with Trump people riding the Capitol. Some of the people
Right,
try to compare this to minister. I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, so it's always we have
right,
always a litmus test for those Trump supporters and people like that to throw Mr. Farrakhan or something. But I'm saying we tell everybody if you come this way, I
You
got it
better
ready.
make sure you got your boxing gloves
No,
on.
I got is ready. This is already said.
Oh
He's
yeah,
ready.
of course.
I got. He's seen this injustice for over 400 years, and they make the wrong move, and that's all I'm gonna say.
And I do believe, like I said, with if you're a minority and you feel like your biases are there's a bias or there's a problem, like let's say you're in the hospital and
Hmm.
everything, I'm all about speaking up,
Okay.
because if people know if you make enough noise when it's happening. Don't
Okay.
wait until after it didn't happen. Start talking when it happens. I know, like I said, what I was telling you about my husband. Um,
Hmm.
he was in there 3 days asking for pain medicine. That made no sense. That made no sense.
Hmm.
And when I was able to get to the hospital, I mean, they were running in there because I had caused so much ruckus. Not in a bad way, but I let them know that no, I'm a healthcare professional and I'm watching you. And
Yeah.
then what was so funny about it when they would come in the room, I had a notepad writing down exactly what's your name. Okay, let me see your name tag.
Good.
Because I had to let them see that I'm watching everything y'all do because you are not going to be biased towards my husband because he's
Right.
black and he's like, yeah, I don't care that you think he's not in pain. He told you he's in pain.
Hmm.
Please give him his medication.
And
And
that's so sad that we're in a society that's supposed to be all great and everything, like we say, that we still don't want to give people the right care, man. And but we'll say we this country, this no other country we should live in, and we should respect it. Well, we got our problems, but this is what I'm saying. We still dealing with, you know, like stuff like that. Here's your husband who's a decorated soldier who served our country, um, a country that really have not served us, and he's not getting the right service. I mean, that should let you know what type of mentality we're dealing with here. It's not godly. It's not very
no, it's
ungodly.
not. It's not. And like I said, the ultimate judge is God Himself.
Right.
And so the fact is that, I can only be responsible for my own reactions and the thing. And if I'm called to be holy, as
Mm-hmm.
he called me to be, I have to do
Mm-hmm.
that all the time. I can't do it
Yes,
just because
ma'am.
I can't be unholy because I'm at work or unholy because I'm at the grocery store. I have to convey that
Mm-hmm.
towards and make peace with all people, all men. I
That's
mean,
right.
and that's what. Now, no, I don't have to be buddy buddy with you. You don't, like I said before, you don't even have to like me, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't cause me any harm and don't disrespect me. I'm
Right.
going to respect you. And like I said, we know the system as a whole is screwed up. But
Mm-hmm.
if we take the situations one by one and let them know, I'm going to speak up for myself.
That's
I'm
right.
not going to let you just think these things and get away with it.
Right.
So a lot of times that it's just about learning to teach our people how to be assertive in a positive way because we can be. I know sometimes, I mean, I got brothers that's rather ready to jump and blow your head off,
Oh
but
yeah.
sometimes,
But you know what? One of the things I can see here, and I'll talk with you later on. But having different us to have working together as a full united front. Like you have me that's represent yourself, anybody else organization, or just any individual who like to work together collectively. So we know if say a family um has an issue, call this and we can come and talk with you and address it. So they're not by themselves. I've always been done that and I with you us to work together do something. That's a solution. And you have different us who can go. We've done that in Nation. You've seen some of these situations where there's been our people going into some of these Asian grocery stores or whatever, and they beat up on our sisters, but the brothers in the nation, sisters in the nation, along with sometimes
right,
NAACP. Hebrew Israelite. We've joined together, walked in there together, and they see a big crowd, they see a united front, they're gonna back down. So these are some of the things. Another thing we like to do is we take your money and shop with your own. You don't
Right.
go
And that's
nowhere where
one thing
people are
I
going
wanted
to.
to,
Yeah,
yeah, because I mean, that's one reason why I'm trying to teach people how to grow,
right.
because I want to see our own grocery store. I
Yeah,
want to see those things. I want to see our own hospital. I
right.
mean, because it just, those are things, not that we wouldn't give care to other people, because, but
Yeah,
the fact is, uh, the thing is that we have been in this country long enough to have those things for ourselves,
yeah. We
you
have. Yeah, we
know,
do. Yeah.
and it it's time to do it. This is the time,
Yes, ma'am.
because I know when you was talking about, I know my elder, when all the things with George Floyd and stuff was going on, he literally had us calling the police station and letting them know, they were getting to the point where they were hanging up on us because we kept calling and asking questions. Like, I'm a taxpayer. I want to know what you're doing about this. Who's been arrested? Who hasn't been? And he set up where we're supposed to alert each other if
Right.
if
Good.
one of us get in
Good.
one of those type of situations. Like,
Beautiful.
yeah. So yeah, we have to look after each other, and I'm so grateful that you were able to come home, brother,
Me too, sister.
today
Me
and
too.
speak with
All
me
right.
about this. Also, I just wanted to show you something. I got my Black and Healthy t-shirt.
I see Black and Health. What you say, Black and Health? All right.
Yeah, Black and Healthy t-shirts.
Beautiful.
I got it on my website on Country Living in the City.
Okay.
It's on the Black and Healthy store. So if you go to they're $20. I
Okay.
actually got them on posted on Facebook as well. But yeah, and I have the Country Living in the City t-shirts, which are $15. So, but I
Praise the
do
Lord.
thank you for coming on
Thank you for
today.
having me. I gotta get on to another one here, another program. But we'll talk this
Okay.
week. All right.
All right, I
All
will,
right.
and
All
I'll
right.
let you go. Thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
brother.
Shalom, sister. Shalom.
Shalom. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. Um, Brother Jamal, I do appreciate him coming on from the Nation of Islam to just talk about the implicit biases and whether or not training, implicit bias training, will be helpful in solving the problem. And as always, I always believe in advocacy. And so if you do feel like you're having some kind of biases in healthcare, um, always you can contact the social worker. You can talk to the patient advocate at the hospital. And don't be afraid, any minority, blacks or otherwise, don't be afraid to speak up when you feel like you're being um, biased against. Um, Sometimes it just takes awareness uh, for some people because they may not be explicitly racist, where they're, um, because you don't have to be a racist to have biases. But if you speak up about it and you let them know that this situation made me feel uncomfortable, I didn't like that statement you made. What do you mean by that? You can always question someone and just start the conversation, because that's what we have to do. We have to break down barriers of years and years of discord in this country. Things from the beginning of the origins of this country. It's going to take a lot of conversations and a lot of ideas from many people, and not only my black America, but the Asian America, the Chinese America, I mean, the Latin America, Russian, there's many minorities over here in this country. And we all can make this place a better place. And I thank you guys for your support. And as always, I love you, my people, my family. Take care of yourself and take care of each other. I'll talk to you again. Until next time, shalom.